Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I just want to check you guys can hear me. So you just send me a quick message if you can hear my voice. And you can also see my screen as well. Perfect. Right, okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So last week we just discussed a very important topic. It was about the group known as the Shias. And I didn't go into detail. I went through many of their beliefs to make us understand why that certain group is wrong. And I also explained that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in a hadith that there would come about 73 groups before the day of Qiyamah, 73 groups before the day of Qiyamah, and every single one of them would enter the fire of hell except for one. So the Sahaba, they inquired from the Holy Prophet ﷺ that which group would enter, which group would be successful. So the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that Ma'ana alayhi washabi, the group which shall follow my path and the path of the Sahaba. This group will be successful. So what we come to know, what we understand from this hadith is that many groups will appear before the day of judgment. 72 of them as a minimum will be a misled group, will be a group that has gone astray. And even within them 72, there shall be other groups also who shall be misguided. Today I'd like to speak about another very cursed sect, another group which is misguided. They still exist today, and that group is known as the Qadyani sect, which was led by a person called Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadyani. And as you can see on the slide, that is his picture, which was taken, I'm not sure how many years ago, but you can find his picture, which is widely available on the internet. That's the picture of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadyani. So the question is, why are they a misguided group? Why do we not refer to them as believers? So the Quran and the Hadith and the Ijma, the consensus of the scholars, of the senior scholars of the Ummah, they are agreed, they are unanimous on the fact that the Holy Prophet ﷺ is the last messenger. And this point that the Holy Prophet ﷺ is the last messenger, the Quran Sharif is the last revelation upon the Holy Prophet ﷺ, has been explained many times in the Quran Kareem. In the Hadith, the Holy Prophet ﷺ mentions, لا تقوم الساعة حتى يبعث دجالون كذابون قريبا من 30 كلهم يزعم أنه رسول الله. So we've already learned that there'll be 73 groups, within which 72 will enter the fire of hell and only one will enter paradise. And then the Hadith further states that before the day of judgment, 30 such liars will appear before the day of judgment. According to one Hadith, according to one narration, to the nearest meaning, there's a number of 40 as well. So many people will claim to be a prophet before the day of judgment. Again, this will be a sign of Qiyamah. Not only does the Holy Prophet ﷺ give the number, but he also says that they will all be liars. They will all be liars, and every single one of them will claim to be the Prophet of Allah. And the last one of them, the last one will be the Dajjal himself, which who will have the ultimate, he'll be the ultimate misguidance for the ummah. Now, what's the background of the Qadyani sect? So before I go into detail, it's nothing new. I mean, in the time of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, towards the end of his life, a person whose name was Musaylama Kazzab, he actually appeared in the time of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. He was an impostor, and he also claimed prophethood. In the era of Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu waged jihad against him, and he was killed in a battle. Similarly, another person whose name was Aswad Anasi, he was a resident of Yemen. He also claimed prophethood. And surprisingly, a Christian woman by the name of Saja ibn Harith, who was of Iraq, she also claimed to be a prophet. So these were already foretold by the Holy Prophet ﷺ's predictions that certain people would arise and they would claim to be the Prophet of Allah, which has no significance whatsoever. And then from Musaylama Kazzab all the way to Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadyani, who came in the 18th century, there have been several people who are documented in history who've claimed to be prophets. But the worst group which has come about is known as the Qadyani sect, which was led by Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadyani. He claimed to be a prophet, and he came at the end of the 18th century. Why did they come into existence? That's a big question. What we need to understand is that the British Empire, they ruled India for hundreds of years. There was no Pakistan at that time because Pakistan came into existence in 1947. So the British, when they decided to make a partition of Indian Pakistan, they always had a policy, and they still have the policy of divide and rule. That we shall leave India, we shall leave the Indian subcontinent, but at the same time, we need to do something which will create divide amongst the Muslims so that they do not rise and then, go against the British, which has happened in the past during the Ottoman Empire. So what the British then did was they hired Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadyani. He was supported by the British, and he made very damning claims. He made very false claims. He made very misguided claims under the support of the British Empire. Even today, the Qadyanis, they have their own TV channel, Ahmadiyya Muslim TV. They also have their own jalsa every year somewhere in the UK. I don't know where. I think their current leader is named Mirza Masroor Ahmad, and again they are supported by the British, and they also have the MPs in Parliament as well. So it's not that they've faded away; they still exist. And if you go to work, if you meet university, you may come across the Qadyanis as well. Okay, so the Qadyani sect came into existence in 1840 in the Indian province of Punjab, and like I said, at that time there was no Pakistan.
No.
So first of all, Mirza, first of all, he claimed to be a mujaddid. A mujaddid is a person who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had sends every 100 years. At the beginning or the end of every 100 years, who reform the deen and give people a fresh understanding and a correct understanding of what Islam is about. They're known as Mujaddid. For example, in the past we've had Mujaddid al-Fasani, rahmatullahi alayh. We've also had Allama Hazrat Ashraf Ali Thani, rahmatullahi alayh, who was also, according to many scholars, a Mujaddid. So Mujaddis are those people who do plenty of work of deen in a very short amount of time. So Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadyani, first of all, he claimed to be a Mujaddid. And then later on, he claimed to be a Muhaddith, he claimed to be a scholar of Hadith. In 1891, he also claimed to be Isa alayhi salam. He claimed to be a prophet. And in 1892, he also claimed to be the Mahdi, and which we'll go into detail at a later stage. You know, Mahdi will appear before the Day of Judgment. In 1901, he claimed to be a prophet. His life went through many conflicting and contradictory phases. For example, he also claimed to be Isa alayhi salam, and he claimed to be the Mahdi at the same time. He also claimed to be Maryam alayhi salam. He was a male and he claimed to be a female. So, but if we go through history and if we go through the books of the Qadyanis, you will see that there are many contradictory phrases in his books. Some of his books, for example, Ruhani Khazain, you study the books of the Qadyanis and you'll understand that there isn't much significance, or there isn't much evidence to stand on in their books. At the end of the session, if somebody reminds me, I will send a book which has a Q&A, and it answers many of those questions which are in relation to the Qadyani group. So he passed away finally in 1918, again before the partition of Indian Pakistan. But he was buried in Qadian, and today and nowadays, till today, the Qadianis do go to Qadian to perform a pilgrimage and to pay their respects to Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadyani. There is a rumor that he died in the toilet, but how true is that rumor? To be honest, I did a bit of research. I didn't really find any evidence of that. But he did die as a non-Muslim, because he did claim prophethood. Okay, so what are the beliefs of the Qadyanis? Let's have a look. Now, this I've actually put down like 17 or 18 beliefs, but I'm sure there's more than that. But the main beliefs, I'll go through them. Number one, so the beliefs on the doctrines of the Qadyani sect. Number one, their main belief is that the Holy Prophet ﷺ was not the last prophet, but Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadyani was the last prophet. Their second belief is that divine revelation, known as Wahi, just like the Holy Prophet ﷺ used to receive revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the same manner, they believe that the Qadyanis, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadyani also received revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They believe that a person who does not believe in Mirza's prophethood, he's a disbeliever, because to believe in Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadyani is now essential, just like believing in the Holy Prophet ﷺ was essential, according to them. They also believe that the person who does not believe that Mirza is a prophet is destined to hell. They also believe, number 5, they also believe that Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadyani performed 1 million miracles, while the Holy Prophet ﷺ performed approximately 3,000. Again, it's false. They also believe that Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadyani holds a position higher than the Holy Prophet ﷺ. Belief number 7, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadyani is more superior than the prophets of the Banu Israel. So that means the prophets like Isa alayhi salam, Musa alayhi salam. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadyani, number 8, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadyani, he made defamatory statements against Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, and he also made false statements against the Sahaba and other prophets. He also claims that there were predictions from Hazrat Isa alayhi salam that were false. Mirza claims that the miracles that were performed by Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, for example, bringing the dead to life, they were just like they were magic tricks. They were magic tricks. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not experience a physical mirage, but he only experienced a kind of dream, an exposition. Belief number 12: after a person dies, there's no resurrection on the day of Qiyamah. So people will not be judged. They will either go directly to paradise or hell. He also believes that there's no reality behind angels. They are merely just souls and stars and just a false imagination. Mirza Ghulam also accused Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam of fabricating lies. They also believe that Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadyani is a manifestation of all the prophets. So basically all the qualities that each prophet had, Mirza Ghulam was one person who had the qualities of all the prophets. Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, he says Hazrat Isa alayhi salam has died and he will not return before the day of resurrection. And Mirza also made defamatory statements against the Quran and the Hadith. And there's one more important belief, is that he says there shall be no more jihad. The jihad that took place in the time of the Holy Prophet and the statements of jihad that are in the Quran Kareem, they have been abrogated. There will be no more jihad, no more war against disbelievers when it's required. Right, so we shall now analyze each one, and I shall try my best to give you an answer. So the first belief is Mirza Ghulam says that I am the final prophet. Now there's many verses in the Quran Kareem, and there are many ahadith there's plenty of ahadith which state that the Holy Prophet ﷺ was the final prophet. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in the Quran Kareem, Ma kana Muhammadun aba ahadin min rijalikum walakin Rasulullahi wa khataman nabiyyin. This phrase here, wa khataman nabiyyin, clearly indicates that the Holy Prophet ﷺ was the last prophet. In the hadith, Hazrat Sawban radhiyallahu ta'ala who relates from the Holy Prophet ﷺ that in my ummah, in my nation, there shall be 30 liars, every single one of them shall believe that they're a prophet. But what I'd like you to understand is I am the last prophet and there shall be no prophet after me. The Holy Prophet ﷺ also mentions that if there were to be a last prophet, if there were to be another prophet after me, it would be Hazrat Umar radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu, but there's no prophet after me. I am the last of the prophets. I am the seal of prophethood. The second belief is that Mirza used to receive revelation. Now again, this is a false belief. Anybody believes that anybody, who may receive revelation, who can receive revelation after the Prophet ﷺ will be classified as a disbeliever. The Holy Quran says in Surah Zumar, وَلَقَدْ أُوحِيَ إِلَيْكَ وَإِلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ لَإِنْ أَشْرَكْتَ لَيَحْبَطَنَّ عَمَلُكَ وَلَتَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. And there are similar verses like this in the Quran Kareem. Now in the above verses, if you look in the above verse, it says that Allah Ta'ala has sent revelation to you, meaning the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and those that have come before you. وَإِلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ. If revelation was to be revealed after the Holy Prophet ﷺ, Allah Ta'ala would have said, وَإِلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ وَإِلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ بَعْدِكَ. But you will not find such a phrase in a similar verse in the Quran Kareem. That again shows that the Holy Prophet ﷺ is the last messenger, and no more revelation can be revealed after the Holy Prophet ﷺ. The third belief is that salvation lies in believing that Mirza Ghulam was a prophet. Mirza Ghulam certainly wasn't a prophet. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran Kareem, وَمَا هُوَ إِلَّا ذِكْرٌ لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Allah Ta'ala says regarding the Quran Kareem, that the Quran Kareem is a source of remembrance and a source of admonition for the worlds. If there was another revelation revealed after the Holy Prophet ﷺ, then Allah Ta'ala would have mentioned that as well, but he did not mention that. Again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran Kareem in another verse, تَبَارَكَ الَّذِي نَزَّلَ الْفُرْقَانَ عَلَىٰ عَبْدِهِ لِيَكُونَ لِلْعَالَمِينَ نَذِيرًا. that blessed is he who sent down the criterion of right and wrong to his servant. Which servant? The Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, so that it may be a warning to the people of the world, meaning, for the world after the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, for the whole of humanity. Again, if Mirza's revelation was revelation, it would have been stated in the Quran Kareem. Again, that shows that Mirza's claims are false. Belief number 4, Mirza believes that anybody who rejects him as a prophet will be destined to hell. Again, we've already discussed that the Holy Prophet ﷺ was the last prophet. Hence, anybody that believes that Mirza is a prophet, on the contrary, will be deemed as a kafir and not as a Muslim. It's unanimously the ulama of the scholars of the world, whether they exist today or they've existed in the past, they are unanimous that the prophethood of the Holy Prophet ﷺ has been terminated, and there's no more prophets to come after him. The 5th belief is that Mirza performed 1 million miracles, and the Holy Prophet ﷺ only performed 3,000. Again, this can only be true if he was a prophet, because a miracle can only be performed by a prophet. If any acts which are against or above or beyond the human mind, if they're performed by a normal human being, then they'll be classified as magic and sihr. They will not be classified as a miracle. The 6th belief is that Mirza is superior to the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Now, again, there's many verses. If you look on the left-hand side, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in the Quran Kareem regarding the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and when he addressed the prophets as saying, لَتُؤْمِنُنَّ بِهِ وَلَتَنْصُرُنَّهُ, you should believe in the messenger, meaning the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and you should help him. If Mirza was superior to the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have mentioned Mirza instead of the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But again, we believe that the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is more superior than anybody in the world. He has the second rank after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hazrat Jabir anhu mentions that the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, that I am the chief commander of the messengers, and I am not saying it out of pride. Again, on the day of judgment, he shall be the best after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So many hadith explain that the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was superior than anybody in the whole entire universe. Belief number 8. Mirza made statements against the prophets. Making statements against the prophet is classed as treachery, is classed as treason in Islam. So never mind, being foul mouth, but we have been instructed to respect the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Regarding this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran Kareem, لا ترفعوا أصواتكم فوق صوت النبي ولا تجهروا له بالقول كجهر بعضكم لبعض. Do not raise your voice over the voice of the Prophet, nor speak loudly to him as you speak loudly to each other. So an element of respect has been taught to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, another verse mentioned in the Quran Kareem, Allah Ta'ala says that were you mocking at Allah Ta'ala, his commands and his messengers? So the fact that Mirza made claims and he made defamatory statements against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, against the prophets, then that shows that he is going against the Quran Kareem, and somebody who goes against the Quran Kareem and doesn't believe the verse of the Quran Kareem will be classified as a disbeliever. Qazi Ayaz, a very famous scholar, rahmatullahi alayhi, he has a book called the Shifa. It's one of the best books on the lifestyle of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. I believe it's been translated also in English. It's called the Shifa of Qazi Ayaz, a beautiful book. So Qazi Ayaz rahmatullahi alayhi, he mentions that man kadzaba bi ahad min al-anbiya aw tanaqqasa ahad minhum aw bari'a minhu fahuwa murtad. That whosoever denigrates or whosoever you know is foul mouthed regarding the prophets or any of them will be classified as a disbeliever. And the Holy Prophet ﷺ has said in a hadith, and it's also mentioned in the khutbah of Jummah, that my Sahaba, if anybody, so do not hurl abuse against my Sahaba, because even if you were to spend the equivalent of Mount Uhud, it's a mountain in Medina, he cannot reach the rank of a Sahabi. Never mind hurl abuse at a Sahabi. So again, these statements prove that Mirza Ghulam was not a prophet. He was, in fact, a disbeliever. Now, what we're going to do next is I'd like to terminate this session. If you can join again, because the session is about to finish. Jazakallah.